Hello, and thanks for joining today. My name is Jeff Demuth. I'm a solutions architect with Amazon Web Services based out of Austin, Texas. Been with AWS for about 8 years and on our geospatial team. In the video today, we're going to walk through how to set up and deploy ArcGIS Pro on our virtual desktop as a service offering AppStream, or a more traditionally application streaming service. And with that, we'll go ahead and jump into it. So to get started, we'll search for AppStream. And the first thing we have to do is we have to create an image. We'll click on Image Builder and launch Image Builder. So now we need to choose an image that matches our image that we're going to deploy into production. That's got to have, like if we do a graphics instance, it's got to have the graphics drivers on here. So actually, yeah, we've got the graphics, but we can just use the regular Win server image. We'll give our image a name, so ArcGIS. And then we're going to choose the size of this instance. So we'll say 4 cores, 16 gigs of RAM. Pick our VPC, give it internet access. And choose a subnet. And then launch. So this is going to spin up our image builder here. This will probably take maybe 4 or 5 minutes. It's got to provision a server and spin it up. All right, and our instance is now running. Took about 9 minutes. The nice thing about AppStream and the image builder is everything's through the AWS console. So now that our image builder is running, I just click connect. It'll ask what kind of user I want to log in as. Test user, administrator. We're going to do administrator so we can install the software. Give it access to the clipboard. And then here we go. So we're dropped into our instance, and we're going to essentially prep the instance to what we want it to look like when the user logs in. I'm going to use my same PowerShell commands I always use to install ArcGIS Pro. All right. So I've got my .NET 6 and my ArcGIS Pro binaries that I've pulled down. We'll go ahead and install these. That was a little too quick. Hold on. We gotta wait for the .NET 6 to finish installing. There we go. And there we go. So we can see here, we've now got ArcGIS installed on our image builder. So now we've got what's called the image assist. This is what's going to prepare this image for AppStream. And so we have to go in and find that ArcGIS binary that was installed. So we'll go select ArcGIS Pro. We can use the default parameters here. This is like a test capability. We don't need to test it. And then we have to hit the optimize launch button, and this will take a few minutes to run as well. Then we'll hit next. Give our image a name. Let's call it ArcGIS Pro. And then disconnect and create image. And so that's going to log me out of this instance and start preparing that. It's going to save the image and prep it and get it ready for AppStream. So if we go back here, see it's snapshotting, and it'll go through a couple steps and then it'll say finished. Okay, now we can see our image builder is stopped. Now we can start creating our fleet. So when we create the fleet, these are going to be the instances that back-end AppStream. You can have always on, so you can have an instance sitting there always running, ready for users to connect. That's obviously the most expensive option, but when users connect, their instance or their application will essentially come up in single-digit seconds. I mean, it's going to be there ready to go. The more cost-effective way is on demand. So when a user initiates a connection, we'll go and spin up an instance on the back end very quickly. That's typically 2 to 3 minutes. We'll give our fleet a name. Choose our instance type. We'll use a 4-core, 16 gig of RAM. You can set up the fleet capacity. So how many instances do you want available on the back end? For stream view, I kind of prefer desktop. So when a user connects, they'll see kind of an entire desktop window. Where if you choose application, when they connect, they only see ArcGIS Pro. And it looks a little bit nicer because the application stream in it looks like ArcGIS Pro is just sitting there running on the user's computer. But at the same time, I think it's a little confusing because it's not actually running on the computer. It's nice to be able to see that desktop when you click File and Open, to be able to open a folder and browse around for files. We'll choose, and then we'll choose our image. So this is the ArcGIS image we created. We'll give it internet access. Again, we'll choose a subnet. All right, and this will start creating our fleet. And so that image builder takes a little bit to run, maybe, it probably took maybe 17, 18 minutes. This one will be a little bit quicker. This should come up in maybe 4 or 5 minutes. All right, so now we can see our instances running. So now we can create our stack. And this is kind of the interface that users are going to connect to. So we'll click Create Stack, we'll give it a name. We have an option for redirection URL. Here's our ArcGIS fleet. So we've got 2 protocol options here. Typically you want to select UDP here. It's more of a preference thing. It'll try to connect as UDP, which is going to be a much faster, more performant experience. And then if it can't, it'll fall back to TCP. We'll click Next. We'll enable our home folders. So this is by default kind of backed by S3. With ArcGIS, you're going to want a little more IOPS, so we recommend using FSX, our file share service for NetApp. That'll give you a little bit better performance on the reading and writing the data from ArcGIS. And just some preference things, can users copy and paste. And create stack. And so this one should be pretty quick too, maybe a couple minutes. The fleets, that one actually took probably closer to like 6 or 7 minutes as well. And I kind of missed talking about an important session here. There's this user session details. So disconnect timeout in minutes if a user gets idle, or the idle, disconnect timeout for idle users, and then the disconnect timeout. These settings impact obviously when a user is idle, when they're going to be kicked off the session and the machine shuts down. But with the difference between workspaces and AppStream is workspaces is persistent, so when a user logs out, their data is still there when they log back in. With AppStream and application streaming, it's non-persistent, so when a user logs out of that instance is completely destroyed. That's why there's a home folder. It's essentially a network share where users have to save all their data. So these settings are very disruptive to a user if they're being logged out after 15 minutes of idle time, especially with if you're running an ArcGIS Pro tool. So you typically want to set these pretty high, so multiple hours, so that it's not as cost effective, but it's very disruptive for a user to have their instance essentially destroyed on them. All right, so now our stack should be ready to go. And then to test this out, what we'll do is we'll create a streaming URL and we'll give it a name and how long the session's good for. And then this will be our link to actually log in. So we'll take the link, copy it into our browser. You can connect to the application through the browser. We typically recommend to connect through our AppStream client, so you would install the client. Then you can also launch the desktop view or the application view. I'll click on desktop, and now it's going to start provisioning that instance on the back end because we have it configured to on demand. If this was set to always running, this would log me right into that application. And this will probably take a minute, 2 minutes to boot up the instance in the application. And there we go. See, that actually came up pretty quick. That was probably right at a minute. Our clipboard setting. Now if we click that ArcGIS Pro icon, it would drop us right into ArcGIS Pro. And there's our login. Go ahead and log in. And a nice another benefit of AppStream is the protocol that's being used here. So on workspaces, you've got PC over IP and the WSP protocol, Workspaces Streaming Protocol. AppStream uses a protocol called NiceDCV, and the experience with ArcGIS Pro with it, both PC over IP and NiceDCV have graphics card support. But even without, this instance doesn't have a GPU on it, but it's very smooth. It's probably not going to come through on the recording, but moving around and working with the instance, and especially through the browser, the performance is much more noticeable when you're using the AppStream client. But even in the browser, like this is, it's pretty smooth. And that's all I had for the video today, so feel free to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Thank you.